Right? First and foremost, I'm going to say all honor and praises be unto Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone and Shalom. So all the sincere Akim out there, teaching out there on the highways and byways in truth and sincerity. It's the brother Shakal from the GMS London camp. And the point I want to speak about is that the New Testament, the New Covenant, only applies onto the 12 tribes of Israel. Because you have a lot of these people out there trying to say, well, yeah, that was the Old Testament. When you go into the New Testament, you know, that's for Israel and the heathen. But they don't understand that the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, the New Covenant, the New Testament, only applied unto the 12 tribes of Israel. So this is Hebrews 8:8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. That's right. So this new covenant, as it says in verse 8, is who? Because the Lord found fault with with us, because you know what it is, the law itself is perfect, but we being in its flesh, we couldn't keep the law 100% in its flesh. So the New Testament, the New Covenant, right, is for us, for the Israelites, man. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, save the Lord. That's right. And it says, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, save the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind. So already that there excludes everyone else, man. He who said he will put his laws into their minds. Who's that? The 12 tribes of Israel. So it don't apply to these heathens, man. So the only part these heathen, have a part to play in the scriptures is them being underneath us. It ain't no, but it's the New Testament. No, bro. They have no part. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. Or who? Or Israel, man. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. But if you get Hebrews 9, it actually explains what the New Testament is. Because that's the thing, these people out here are stupid. So these people out here might come to the camp and be like, well, that was the Old Testament. Now we read out the New Testament. But people don't even understand what the Old Testament and the New Testament itself is. The Old Testament is the old covenant that was made with the actual house of Israel. The New Testament is the new covenant that was made with the house of Israel. And now I'll prove it here. This is Hebrews chapter 9 and 15. and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the First Testament. So what is the First Testament, man? That's Exodus 24 and 8. I'm going to read it here. Exodus 24 and 8. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord have made with you concerning all these words. So Hebrews chapter 9 says what? That the exact same people that the old covenant was for, unto them applies the New Testament. Because if you go according to the word in the Greek to see what it means, if you go into the word there in the Greek, let me get it up. Well, it should say Testament. I don't have the internet connection. So look, my phone is slow right now. But anyway, like if you get the opportunity, then you can go into that word yourself. And it says, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of transgressions that were under the First Testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. So those who are under the New Testament, right, receive the promise of eternal inheritance, right? Now, who does the promises apply to in the scriptures? This is Romans chapter 9 and 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants, the old covenant and the new covenant, and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So the Old Testament and the New Testament applies unto the 12 tribes of Israel, man. This Galatians chapter 4 and 4. But when the fullness of time was come, Yahweh sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive adoption of sons. That adoption is what, us coming back onto the Lord, man. So the blood of the new covenant, the blood of the New Testament applies unto the Israelites, man. Let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9 and 15. And for this cause he's the mediator of the New Testament, which is the new covenant, right? That's actually what the word testament means. The word testament means a covenant, right? That by means of death for the transgression, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the First Testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance, man. You know. So really, it just applies, man, to the 12 tribes of Israel, because even if you go to Jeremiah 31, right, that was promised back then, right? That was promised back then unto the Israelites, man, which I'm gonna read it here. Jeremiah chapter 31 and 31, it says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel." See? So even in the Old Testament, it speaks about the new covenant that is promised unto the Israelites, man. "After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my laws into their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall know me from the least unto the greatest, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more." Their sin. All right? That applies unto us, because guess what? In the kingdom to come, if an Edomite breaks the law, he gonna get his skull pumped in, man. You know? But the scripture says we ain't gonna sin no more, man. We actually gonna be completely right and perfect. So for you Christian churches saying, no, that was the Old Testament. You don't even know what the Old Testament and the New Testament is. The Old Testament and the New Testament is the Old Covenant and the New Covenant, which were both unto the house of Israel. Lord willing, you brothers were edified. Shalom.